All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. And right now, we'll move on to our first guests of the day. There is a dearth of libraries in the country, which has resulted in appalling reading culture among youths in Nigeria. Now, there is an embarrassing lack of physical books, while it seems many libraries have not embraced the e-book innovation. Now, to discuss how the Nigerian system can help in revitalizing schools and neighborhood libraries in Nigeria is the chairperson and treasurer, Nigerian Library Association, FCT, for Lashade Adepoju and Titilola Mafe. Good morning and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning and thank you for having us.
All right, so let's start with this. Library Week is winding down. You know, it started beginning of this week and it's winding down. Can you tell us what Library Week is all about and how it has actually gone so far?
Okay, thank you very much. Library Week is a week dedicated to issues around library, to discuss issue of readership, promotion, and to encourage Nigerians to read. Library Week is to bring back the books. Library Week is to celebrate people that are readers, people that are leading the campaign to bring back the reading culture in Nigeria.
Okay. All right.
All right, so just made a very valid point of something that has been bandied about a lot. We always talk about this, reading culture. Reading culture, we don't have a reading culture. What has happened to our reading culture? Because I know back in the days, a lot of us were encouraged to actually read. And because sometimes, maybe because we don't have a choice. But right now, there are lots of other things to do, and there's no time to actually read. What has really happened to our reading culture? Is it that we've abandoned it, or we're being distracted by other things?
Well, thank you. A lot of things has affected our reading culture. You know, talking about the school system itself, the educational system, the economy, and you know, so many things that you could think of has affected our reading culture. And that is what the Library Week is about too. The theme is revitalizing school libraries and neighborhood libraries, like we have said. And reading culture, you know, is supposed to be a lifelong something you do for a lifetime. But you discover that, just like I've said, the economy, the atmosphere is not conducive, and for that reason, you discover that so many of us, even as adults, we don't read again. You tell people to read and they ask you, have I eaten today? And you are asking me to read. You know, so the interest is not just there, the passion is not there. And that is what the librarians and information professionals are trying to bring back. That reading itself has a role to play in building humanity. Library serves humanity in the first place. So the library itself, when we go back to the library, we are building ourselves as individuals, as a nation, and we are building our community. You know, we are building everything in humanity.
All right, now I remember back in the day before the invention of, you know, mobile phones and technology, we were always at the library. Now, but a lot of people don't seem to understand or know the importance of these libraries. Now, can you tell us why these libraries are important as compared to, you know, our tablets or our phones?
Okay, thank you. When I was growing up, I didn't have access to reading materials, but I knew there was a library on Bukuru Road. So I would trek from Nasarawa. I was born and brought up in Jos. I would trek from Nasarawa to Bukuru Park, because anytime I'm passing, I will see books on the shelf from the glass window. And I'll enter there, I'll access the book, I'll read newspapers, and I'll come out. But over the years, the decline started declining. Like she rightly said, economic issues affected people. There's a saying in Nigeria that an hungry man is an angry man. You can't tell somebody that has not eaten to go inside the library to read. What are you talking about? Poor parenting and grooming. When you are a parent, it is expected of you to teach your child before the school will come in. from the home, the parents should be able to groom their children to know that, yes, you are going to school, you need to read. But because as a mother in our days, the mothers, they stay back at home to take care of us, and you see them teaching us how to read and write. But these days, a young mother will go to the office, the young father will go to the office, leaving the children at the mercy of house help and neighbors, and which has brought decline in reading culture. Then mother tongue. At a point, I was moved back to my village to school, SS1 to SS3. And I'm an Ijesha person. And in my classroom, they were teaching me Ijesha. I learned physics and chemistry with my mother tongue. And I understood. But these days, all of us want to copy English. Western way of education. It has affected us. Teach a child in Hausa language and tell me if that child will not excel. And issue of, when we talk about issue of ICT, internet and the rest, people are quick to use their gadgets to spread information. But how authentic are this information they're putting out? It leaves so many questions to answer.
All right, let's come back to the libraries now. During the intro, we actually talked about having a dearth of libraries and all that. But is it really a question of the number of libraries that we have now, the dwindling number of libraries, or the quality of the libraries that we actually do have? Because a library is only as good as what is inside, what's on the shelves. Do we have what is required? If I walk into a library now, what do I get?
Thank you. Well, it's not about what... Okay, the two things that you mentioned, is it about the library? Is it about the resources in the library? In the library,
exactly.
Yes, the number of libraries that we have is not, they are not adequate, to be sincere. They are not adequate. Then the resources itself are not adequate. So the 2 points are valid. And like I said, that is why we are talking about revitalizing the library sector, the libraries. Starting from the school, starting from the primary school to the secondary school. If we have from the primary school, we have a well-equipped library, and we introduce the pupils to reading, it will go a long way. The same with the secondary school. If we have well-equipped libraries, let's start with that. Let's forget down about the community libraries and probably the public libraries. But when we have from the cradle, you have a library in the primary, you have in the secondary. We are building up, total pupils. We are building up these students so that as they grow along, like I said earlier, I said it's a lifelong thing. So as they grow along, they'll be able to fit in. Then I'll come back again to say that the government, they are not helping issues, because you asked about the numbers of libraries and the resources. Good and fine. We don't have government policies that are supporting the library. So we cannot afford to, buy the resources, equip them. And as you know, we just spoke about ICT in libraries. The libraries are transforming. We don't even have the technical know-how of those ICT, not to talk of having them in the library so that we use them for our purpose. So that, is issues on its own. Not having, the numbers of libraries required and not having enough available resources. There are issues that we need to address.
Okay, now you talked about, the libraries and ICT. What about electronic libraries? Because I know a lot of people now in their houses, you see them with so many books or mini libraries, but most of them are for decorations. I remember back then, in university, you had corporations and organizations that will come and build libraries for the students. But when you look at the education system right now, ASO has been on strike for how long? The students, where are the students that would actually read these books? So do you think, moving from the traditional library to like an electronic library would actually help a lot?
No. You said something about people having electronic library, corporation
building
libraries to support learning.
Putting
computers to support learning. Okay. First, when you talk about electronic library, you talk about power supply. You talk about backups. When you don't have adequate power supply and you install books in electronic formats, who will use that place when there's no lights? We have dealing with a lot of issues. I don't support moving libraries from the traditional system. So I don't support it totally, because if we have a functioning country, I would say good and fine, let's move it. Even in the developed world, they still have their traditional library, and they have hybrid, so traditional and the electronic library working hand in hand. So there's no way you can separate, because there are some materials that, especially in our library, I work in the National Library, lawyers come in for a certification of subpoena. When they subpoena them from the court, they come in, they want to see the physical copy. Yes, we've digitized these materials, but in the court, they want it to be shown to them physically. If we withdraw this from the public, how will people access it? Yes, we need electronic. Then who is going to pay for the cloud storage? These things don't come cheap. Government is not ready. Government is not sponsoring library enough. And for that reason, for now, I would say we are still a work in progress. I will not totally support moving libraries from the traditional to the electronic because of so many issues.
All right, let's talk about the Nigeria Library Association now, your association. She made a very good point that the government policies that we actually have are not even there to cater for the libraries that we have. So we've talked about the issues now, talked about what's on ground, let's talk about moving forward. What do we do? Has the association actually thought about, we're in a democracy, we have the legislature and all that, and they make laws and so. Has the association actually thought about forming a sort of lobby to actually go to these legislators, make moves to actually have these laws passed so that we can have a policy that guides library building usage and all that? Has the association actually thought in that direction?
Yes.
Okay.
There's been lots of lobbying, there's been lots of advocacy towards revitalizing the library system holistically. We're not talking about school now.
Okay.
Even because it's only academic libraries in Nigeria that are a bit thriving, that are working. And they are working because you cannot take library away from a university environment or a polytechnic environment. You have destroyed that school. Okay. So that's one is working. And they're not even working totally. Okay. Because we get lots of complaints from school librarians, university librarians, polytechnic librarians. The money allocated for the libraries are not being given to them. Even when they give to them, they give very ridiculous allocation. And when they are coming for what is it called? Sorry, I can't remember now. Accreditation of these schools. The school authority will just do chua-chua. Let me just use that word. They cover up their inadequacies. Okay. So that government will not know that they are not ripe for accreditation of those courses. They need the library to accredit these courses. Unfortunately, unfortunately, all the efforts of the Nigeria Library Association to ensure that we have functioning library has not yielded so much results. In 2017, we saw a need for the National Library of Nigeria building to be completed, and we raised our voices. We went out, we met lawmakers, we lobbied. When you pass through the building today, it's still in its shadow of its old self. It has not been completed. 2020, there was a pronouncement that government has allocated some percentage to the completion, and it will be completed in 3 years. 2 years after, we're still coming back here to talk about the library. And if National Library is working, if National Library can get it right, all other libraries, the public, the school, the academic, will thrive. But unfortunately, the National Library, which is the library to all, the apex libraries, is not even well. So what happened to the body?
Okay, now, still talking about the administration. Now, back in the day, being a librarian was as important as being a teacher, you know, or a lecturer, you know, in schools. But do we still have, you know, such dedicated librarians in Nigeria today? Because, you know, if you look at the economy, a lot of people actually go into some jobs, you know, just to make ends meet.
Well, librarianship is a beautiful profession, and I can testify. I was a teacher librarian. I taught in the school. I was taking charge of the library, and I was teaching the use of library. So I am a proud librarian. She is a proud librarian. And we have so many other librarians that are still dedicated and committed. And that is why we are here today, to ensure that the library system, just like she said, not only in the schools, but from the National Library, the Apex Library, to the lowest library, let me use that way, are, you know, revitalized, and we come back to what a library is supposed to be, just as we have obtainable in other climes. We must do that. And we are in the forefront. She is an advocate of the library. I am an advocate. We are information literacy advocates, and we will ensure, by the grace of God, that we make that happen.
It's absolutely amazing when you talk to people who are passionate about what they do, and you can actually feel the passion, and that is really, really appreciated. So, Library Week, let's go back to that. Even right here now, we've actually discussed a myriad of problems bedeviling the library system, and I know all those discussions were held during the Library Week and all that. Where do we go from here? We've identified the problems. We know they are there. They have been there for a very long time. Is there a need for us to do things differently? Or should we still keep going on the same path that we're going and hoping that things might change miraculously, maybe?
This is the time to wake up from our slumbers. We cannot continue to do things the same way and expect a better result. No way. If you check the statistics of UNESCO, 20.6 million children are out of school. Where do we go from there? These are children that will grow up tomorrow to attack us if care is not taken. These are tools in the hands of terrorists and bandits. So where do we go from here? First, parents. Yes, we talk about school, we talk about libraries, but the fundamental place where a child gets right grooming is from the home front. As a parent, you put your child on the right track. On birthdays, on their birthdays, buy them gift of books instead of cakes. You can put cakes beside it, but put books in their hands and have a reading timetable for them. Then come back to the classroom. Like I said, I grew up in a community where they speak my language. If it is your language that will be the means of communication at home, use it. Okay. Once your child can learn how to use your language to talk, you have solved 70% of this problem of reading. Because the child that can identify ABD like Yoruba will be able to identify ABC in a textbook written in English. So we cannot continue doing the right thing. And implementation of government policies, so many policies. The first policy on education was 1971. We have another one of 2020. We shouldn't be gathering there talking about library if those policies are implemented. Okay. Government has it. Then the philanthropists in the community, they should help. They should help. You see our lawmakers, they get constituency allowances. What do they do with them? They build gutter, they build culverts, they will celebrate it, they will cut the red tape. How many of them are thought of building a library where people will learn? Library drives development, either we like it or not. And today, libraries are no longer where people come to read, sit down. She's an advocate. She has done a lot in library, in bringing library to the people. There are communities in this Abuja that we've been to. There's a place called Balsokoyako Piwoi. Okay. If not that we are librarians, I don't think I will ever know that community. Exactly. No access road, no lights, no water, no hospitals. Women die in that community. And kids, they will have to trek like 7 kilometers to access the closest school in Katy. But the library, we've been going there. But we are limited in resources.
Okay.
If we have people in Abuja that will come and assist in taking a resource center, education resource center, information resource center to that place, it will serve, it will complement the work of schools in that community. But unfortunately, we don't have people. So we cannot continue to do this thing and expect a different...
I was actually going to talk about the rural areas because most of the libraries we're talking about are in the cities, you know, but this is one community you're talking about. We have so many...
Barangoni.
We have so many other communities. How do you intend to reach these people in the rural areas?
Exactly. Sorry, let me come in. Just like she has said, you know, she didn't bring out the word, we need collaboration and partnership. She has said that we need philanthropists, you know, to come out and assist. What we are facing in the library system in Nigeria is obvious. It's not something that is hidden. It's open to everyone to see. So we need NGOs, we need philanthropists to partner with the library. We are open to that partnership. They can bring the resources and we will do, you know, the teaching and other things, you know. So we are just open. As many people that are here watching us this morning, we need partnership, we need collaboration. We are very, very open. And that is what you are talking about, the way forward.
Exactly.
That is how, if government policies are not supporting the library, then let individuals that know the value, the worth of reading, just like she has said, is, you know, it drives development. Let them come out and let them help the passionate librarians, you know, to build the
library system.
Yes, that was really an interesting discussion on libraries in Nigeria, and hopefully, you know, listening to you this morning, a lot of organizations and individuals will, you know, come out and give their widow's mite to support you. All right, so that was the chairperson and treasurer, Nigerian Library Association, talking about Ms. Folasha De Adekboju and Titi Lola Mafe, you know, joining us this morning on Daybreak Extra to discuss on libraries in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick breather, and when we return, we'll move on to the next guest.